Yeah, we're Sturbridge Village here, and this is a schoolhouse, a one-room schoolhouse that's, well, older, of course, than the one our dad went to that was on the corner of Route 68 and Pitcherville Road, but this was about the size that they had in those days.
This is the district school. There would have been children in here as young as 5, 4, up to their mid to late teens. Could have as many as 30 or 40 kids in here. Could have as few as 25. Parents provide all the school supplies. Parents make the decision about when the kid's going to be finished with school. The kids come to school Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, Saturdays 9 to noon. There's an hour at midday for dinner, and everybody goes home for dinner. There's 15-minute recess in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. So children are here for an extended period of time, but I also never give them homework, because if I gave them schoolwork to do at home, they wouldn't have time to do it. They've got too much farm work that they have to do. The girls are busy cooking and cleaning and sewing and taking care of the babies and milking the cows. The boys are busy splitting wood. That's a big job for kids, to split wood, because all the houses are heated by firewood. So you're going to have to, most of these houses go through maybe as many as 20 cords of wood a winter. So that's a lot of wood to be cutting.
Well, I went grammar school at the corner here, corner of 68 and Pitcherville and Morgan Road, up to 6th grade. 6 years of grammar school, we had to walk to this school here. And I was a janitor of the school about 3 years or more. And then we went from there to Hubbardston, where Mrs. Ed Prentice's wife lives. That was the grammar school that I went to. And Carol Clark lived on High Street. He used to have a pickup truck with 2 benches on it that he used to pick us up from here to grammar school. That's about all I know.
1938, the autumn of 1938, there was a new building in the process of construction. And at the same time, the old building, with all the values that the old building contained, was still active. I spent the first year of my time in Hubbardston in the old building. Let me give you a brief picture of it. 4 spacious rooms, heated by pot-belly stoves, the teacher's desk on a raised platform in front.
My younger brother John was the last graduating class, but I graduated in 1934 out of Center Road School here. Of course, there was only 4 rooms, 2 grades to a room, up and down, 4 rooms. What I liked about it was we had to study study our lesson while she was teaching the other kids, and then I'd sit there and I'd listen to the teacher teach, like, for instance, the 2nd grade. And when I got to the 2nd grade, hey, I've been all through this stuff, so I could breeze right through the 2nd grade.
Well, we went to where Viano Prentice lived. We went there, and that's where I got hurt. I was sliding down on the ice on one of the paths, and Bill Clough was on the sidewalk with his 2 horses sanding. And I went down, and somebody grabbed Doris Weed that was with me, but I went under. And thank God the horses didn't break my leg. But I've still got the mark right there from the horse's hoof. And I was 10 years old when that happened.
The truth of the matter is that in the winter, if you were near the pot-bellied stove, you were warm. And if you were at a distance, you were cold.
One of the interesting things that I remember about Center Road School, I was talking about the pot-bellied stoves and the middle of each, well actually toward the front part of each room. They burned wood, and they used the basement to store cordwood, you know, stove length. And so the various farmers around here would bid on a contract for X number of cords of wood. I don't remember which. But they would bring the cord wood and dump it off at the back of the school, and then they had the windows, basement windows. They'd throw it through the basement windows. Well, now all the wood would be piled there, and they used to hire us kids to move it back. In other words, we're down there throwing, you know, about two or three guys have to handle it to get at the far end so they could.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I went to that Hubbardston Grammar School. I think I graduated in 32 over to the Methodist Church. That was over there. That's where we had our graduation. We used to have graduation for 8th graders because you had 2 classes in one room. 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, and 7th and 8th.
I remember very much in the 1st and 2nd grade, and Miss Jacobson was the teacher. And of course, for them to go to the bathroom, they had to go out on the L of the school, and the outhouse was out there. So they had quite a little distance to go. Well, she had us all assigned to doing something, and she was gone there. So while she had gone out, remember the post that used to be in the center of the room?
Yeah.
I shimmied up the post, and I was right up against the ceiling. And all of a sudden, Miss Jacobson came in the room. Well, I let go of the post and went down, and I landed on the top of the desk that was adjustable, and it knocked it all down out of adjustment with a big bang because I came. And I remember then she went to get Ben Howard, who was janitor of the school at the time, to come in and readjust the desk. And I had to stand or sit in the corner for quite some time.
First class I had in Hubbardston graduated in 1939 in June, and I must say that every one of them was more than adequately prepared. You might wonder, what about plumbing? No, there was no plumbing. There were outhouses, and in the winter it was bitter cold to go outside and use them.
Here we had flush toilets, and in the old center school we had to go outside, the boys did, outside the building to a privy that was not very warm in the winter time and not very comfortable when it was raining outside. Gary, as I remember it, center school was probably conceived as a project about 1936 or 1937. Construction probably started in 37, continued through 1938. And we moved in as, I was a 6th grader at the time in the fall of 1939. And that was the first year that center school and number 3 school from Gardner Road, where Giuseppiak's now lived, went to the same school together. There were only 4 rooms, 4 classrooms in center school at that time. And each classroom had 2 grades, and it had about 12 to 14 students in each grade. Dagmar Jacobson taught the 1st and 2nd grades. Ann Novak taught the 3rd and 4th grades. Mary A. Prentice taught the 5th and 6th grades, and that was my first classroom here. And Donald F. Lytle, who is presently a resident of Hubbardston, was the principal and taught the 7th and 8th grade. It was kind of interesting going through 8 years of school with double classes in a room, but it was possible to do it and still come out with a lot of knowledge.
2 grades to a room. As I recall it, Dagmar Jacobson had grades 1 and 2, Ann Novak 3 and 4, Mary Prentice 5 and 6, and I handled 7 and 8. People not only learned what they were set to learn for the grade, but had the advantage of repetition, and oftentimes would look back and say, I learned a great deal more by being in a room with 2 grades.
There were 8 grades, And you had first, I had second and third, or half of the third, and Ann Novak had the other half, the third and the fourth. Do you remember who the fifth and sixth graders were?
Miss Prentice.
Mary Prentice.
Mary.
And then Mr. Cowell was principal.
Principal.
And you have the seventh and eighth. And that was, like I said, the year that I graduated, 1949. I hate to say that, and that's when I came to Hubbardston.
I don't tell when I came.
No? Well,
I spent the years 1938 to 46 in Hubbardston, and I must say that they were happy indeed. You know, they talk constantly these days about undisciplined schools. We had almost no discipline problem of any kind through the years, none. But then, mine has been a blessed life, I guess.
we've always had a good staff in Hubbardston, and the discipline has been excellent. And most of the people, especially down at Quab, I've heard teachers remark, you can tell they came from Hubbardston because of the good education and
the
the
good
discipline.
education, they'd say they're way ahead of some.
And I'm not saying that because I'm prejudiced.
No, the children, my children said that it was easy going in the 7th grade because they knew as much as any of the other kids that went in and maybe a little bit
That's right.
more.
That's right.
So they had a good background.
And Roy Hatch as our guest speaker. He was professor of social studies at Clark College. It was a gala occasion indeed. I still look back at all the happy people I saw there that night.
My other connection with the school was the fact that my father had been clerk of the works during construction, and when the office of custodian was advertised after construction was completed, he applied. Because of his knowledge of the structure and the building, he was hired as the first custodian of the building. Needing a little extra help in afternoons, my brother and I used to be pressed into service to sweep the classrooms and sweep down the corridor floor and help put chairs up in the auditorium or take chairs down in the auditorium and do that sort of work. Dad also built the benches for the cafeteria. He hired me at 1 penny apiece to go up to the old center school, which was located on Main Street, and to take off the coat hangers off the wall so he could make coat hangers to be used in this building here, and some of them are still around the building.
I'm Nancy Kangas. I started first grade at Hubbardston Center School in 1955, and Mrs. Prime was my first grade school teacher, and I understand that was her first year in Hubbardston. So we'd like to hear about your years in Hubbardston Center School.
Well, I came in '55, and at that time there was just the old building, and they had 2 rooms in back of the cafeteria, and I had one of those downstairs rooms, and it had a stairwell that went right outdoors. And at that time, some of the grades were doubled up, and it was that year that they built the new addition. And during the year, we moved into the other part of the building.
I can remember that.
Yes. And then the Slate building came later, and when they built that, I moved over there.
Well, how does it feel to see some of your previous students grown up now, and then I guess you've had some of our children?
Well, David Arm I had in the 1st grade, and I had his son, and Joe Gardnerowicz, I had 2 of his sons. And I was trying to think, there must be some others, but offhand I can't remember who they were. Well, it seems funny, these kids grow up and I don't change, so I think they're going to catch up with me. About 6 years in Maine before, I had a 1-room schoolhouse when I started. I had 8 grades in the kindergarten in 1 room. Then I was in Phillipston for 3 years, and we were in the same union with Hubbardston, so I knew Joe Graham Malini and the Howlett and all those people. So after 3 years, I went to Hubbardston and never left.
Sing it on the eclectic fields in schools both far
I'm Ann Hennigan Richard. I have to say the name Hennigan because I wrote the song under the name Hennigan. And I wrote the words to the song, and
Hazel Holman's, and I wrote the music to the song.
I believe it was 1951, Hazel. We were over to Hazel's house one evening, and the class had asked us, or had asked me to write a class song, which I did, to the tune of Mockingbird Hill. And that was not appropriate for really a school song, and they wanted a school song. So one evening, Hazel and I got together at Hazel's home, and I sat down and wrote a poem, which Hazel put the music to, and you can tell them a little bit about the music.
Well, we put the words down on a piece of music paper and set it to the 4/4 rhythm, and broke it down and sort of hummed a little tune, and that was the beginning of it, and it just developed into a song that they seemed to like when I played it. I'm very, very partial to that type of music anyway. I was very good at playing that style of music. And the kids liked it, so we just developed it into so it became what it is today.
We thought it was just going to be for that year.
Yes.
We never realized it was going to be immortalized and become a school song, but we're very proud of having it. And
The new wing was was completed approximately in 1954. And I was teaching in New York State at the time construction was underway. But my mother, Lillian Washburn, was on the committee, and I know Ray Moore was on the construction committee. And we hoped that was going to solve our problems for many years to come, and it did. And up until the present need for a very dramatic expansion due to the very dramatic expansion in the population of Hubbardston.
The community is saying to us in the school that we're making a commitment to these children, and we're making a commitment to the future of Hubbardston, and it's now up to us here at the school to carry that commitment forward and to work with the people here and to provide the best possible education we can.